We're going to practice a little more with our ratios, sine, cosine, tangent. Now, one thing I want us to remember is that the three angles of a triangle add up to 180. Okay, add up to 180. So I'm given two angles, 90 and 46. I know 90 plus 46 is 136. So let me write down my 136 at the side. If I was to subtract that from 180, 180 minus 136 is 44. I'm going to say my third angle, even though I was not given my third angle from the beginning, I'm going to call it 44 degrees. Now, why am I saying that? Okay, let me come back here. So it says, identify the expression equivalent to sine of 46 degrees given the triangle. Please select two. Okay, so there's two of them. Okay, there's two fractions that are equivalent, so are equal, or the same thing as sine of 46. Now, sine, I remember it as so. So sine is opposite of hypotenuse from 46 degrees. So the three sides here, this is hypotenuse. From 46 degrees, this is my opposite. So as a fraction, I'm going to have this as 10.5 over 14.5. And I look at my choices, 10.5 over 4.5. Nope, is not there. Okay. So maybe I need to simplify my fractions. Maybe I should not have a decimal. I should not have a decimal. So let me multiply this by 10. So basically move the decimal to the right. So that gives me 105 over 145. I look at my choices. I still don't see that. Okay. That is, this needs to be simplified. The way I'm going to simplify, let me divide each of these by 5. I know 105 divided by 5 is 21. 145 divided by 5 is 29. And I see that. That's one of my choices here. Okay, cool. So that fraction is equivalent to sine of 46. However, it said I had to choose two. Okay. So there's another one of these. Now, interesting though, I see cosine. I'm like, why cosine? However, what if I was to go and I was to say from 44 degrees, so my theta was here, wouldn't that change my hypotenuse stays my hypotenuse, but wouldn't that change this to adjacent? Because the opposite will be this side from the 44 degrees. And I know cosine of 44, cosine of 44 is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse. So 10.5 over 4.5. Wait a minute, that is the fraction that I had at the beginning. So another way of writing this is cosine of 44. There you go. That's what I'm going to choose. Okay, I found the two. Okay, let's see. Identify the expression equivalent to sine of 58. Okay, so if I'm using 58, if I'm using this corner 58, this is my opposite, this is my hypotenuse, so it has to be 9 over 10.6. That's not one of my choices. Okay, don't want to have decimals, so let me multiply each by 10. So that gives me 90 over 106. Basically, I move the decimal one place to the right. That's what multiplying by 10 is. I don't see 90 over 106. Maybe I need to simplify this. Let me divide each by 2. 90 divided by 2 is 45. 106 divided by 2 is 53. And yep, I see that. 45 over 53. That's one of my choices. Now, the older choice, I'm going to say, okay, I know, I see that two corners given are 90 and 58. I know 90 plus 58 is 148. Let me do that here at the side. If I subtract that from 180, that gives me 32. So this corner here is 32. Now looking at the 32, this is still my hypotenuse because it's the biggest side, but then this becomes the adjacent. Now cosine of 32 is adjacent over hypotenuse, which is 9 over 10.6. Yeah, that is the fraction that I had at the beginning. So cosine of 32 will be my other choice. I want you guys to practice on those. Let me flip the page. Let me take a look at question number 11. Identify the expression equivalent to cosine of 71. Okay. I know use blue for this. My 71 is here. So far away, this is the opposite. I know this is the hypotenuse and this is the adjacent. But cosine of 71, I have to go adjacent over hypotenuse. So let me go 6 over 18.5. That's not one of my choices. So I have to work things out. No decimals. So let me multiply both sides by 10. So that gives me 60 over 185. Let me divide each by 2. I know 60 divided by 2 is 30. 180. Oh no, I'm not going to be able to divide that by 2. Right? Okay, so let's see. Let's not divide by 2. Let's actually divide by 5. Okay, 60 divided by 5, that's 12. 185 divided by 5, that's 37. Okay, 12 over 37, do I see that somewhere? Yep, I see that here. Now, I'm going to solve for the remaining corner. I know 90 and 71 combined is 161. Let me subtract that from 180. So that gives me 19. So that means this corner is 19. So if this corner is 19, that means this is my hypotenuse, this is my adjacent, and this is my opposite. So my sine, in this case, sine of 19 is equal to 6 over 18.5, which is the fraction that I needed. So I'm going to choose sine of 19. Lastly, let's take a look at number 12. Identify the expressions equivalent to cosine of 77. Okay, so let's see. I know I'm going to have to find the third angle, right? 90 plus 77 is 167. Subtract that from 180. I think we can all agree that this last corner right here will be 13. I know I'm going to need that later, so let me just put it as a 13 here. So now, cosine of 77. So from 77, if this is my 77, I know this is the hypotenuse because it's the biggest side of the three. And this right here is my adjacent because this other side will be my opposite. And I know cosine of 77 is 1.8 over 8.2. because it's adjacent over hypotenuse. I don't see that as a choice. So let me multiply each by 10. So it gives me 18 over 82. Just for me to get rid of the fractions, let me divide each by 2. 18 divided by 2 is 9. 82 divided by 2 is 41. See, is that one of my choices? Yep, 9 over 41 is right here. We're looking at the corner 77. Now looking at the corner 13, that's still my hypotenuse, but now this is my adjacent and this is my opposite. And I want it to be 1.8 over 8.2, so I'm going to go opposite over hypotenuse. So I'm going to call this sine of 13. I know it's opposite, so 1.8 over 8.2, which is the fraction that I had from the beginning. So sine of 13 is this. I do have to choose both.